rock music today. It cracks me up what they pick. There's literally a very small amount of songs that they have available for us to use in the background. So welcome to Canada with Katie. We're going to talk about being late and all the things that go along with that. And I'll be back in a minute. I'm gonna do the intro. I'll see you in a minute. Boom! Let's do this. Hi. So I've got Sit Squatch here. He's balancing on the top of my water bottle. So, what kind of a person are you? Are you late? This is what we're talking about today. And the reason why I'm talking about it is because, well, can you guess? Can you guess what kind of a person I am? I'm gonna make you guess, and I'll tell you later. I should play another game, but it's I don't have all the money to play all the games. So, what's the deal? Is it always a bad thing? Because I'm going to talk about some of the reasons why people are late, some of the things with it, and some of the things that you should probably just let go, you know? So it is 80 something degrees right now. This is insane. I've got the Highland Games this weekend. Well, it's actually Gilbert, like so far away from where I am. It's like an hour. So it's going to be in the 80s the rest of the week. But then this weekend, Saturday when I compete, 64, Sunday 63 for the rest of the peeps. So that's pretty badass. I got a comment. Yay. Okay. Jamie, hate being late, cause me great anxiety and pisses me off when others do it. Then I try to relax and I wish I could relax. Makes me feel like I'm too high strung when others look at me like, chill, military bitch. I get it. Okay, it's 20 degrees here. And I miss you all, man. I know, I miss you too. It's so crazy. I wish you were going to be here this weekend. Oh, but yes. And so, Jamie, I'm going to talk about that because it is kind of interesting. Okay. So here's the deal. Okay. So I took the information from, and then let me know as I'm going. I've asked you a couple of times, but does this ticker thing, is it like disruptive on the bottom? Oh, and by the way, if you're not hearing me, I say this before. So this Canada with Katie, I'm fancy pants because I don't want to take up too much room. So maybe you see it, maybe you don't sometimes. But if you can't hear me, it means that your volume is not adjusted. And what else I was going to say? Oh, the closed captions are funny because it says Candle. It says, hi, welcome to Candle with Katie instead of Candor with Katie. So, and they spell it Katie. So I took information today from these websites. So all of the information that I share that has a little chick in front of it, like this, is taken from The Guardian and The Surprising Psychology Behind Being Perpetually Late. And then all the ones with the lightning bolt are taken from NewYorkPost.com. And it says, I'm a behavior expert, and this is the real reason some people are always late. Are you intrigued yet? And the third article I took information from is from the Washington Post with the story about chronic lateness tips, which you might enjoy, you might not. So do these resonate with you? Okay. So Laura Tipton says, always way early and actually feel like I waste more time by doing that. I am just sitting there waiting when I could have done other things and just gotten to my meeting on time. So that's interesting because I'm going to ask a question about that later on what you do if you're early. I'm watching on my phone, so the ticker's too small to read. LOL. Yeah, well, we know how you do that, Nisi, because when you're on the things and you're like, is my do I look okay, by the way, with the lighting? I've got my little ring light thing. Is that better? Make myself a little brighter? I don't know. Shiny. Yeah, so here's the thing. If you're late, you can be stressed. If you're early, you can be stressed. So what's the dealio, yo? Okay, so and I say okay all the time, so maybe I should talk about that. So if you're a forever running around trying to get from A to B person, then it's likely that you're the friend or family member who's always late. And what do you think about those late people? Do you think they're assholes? Do you think that they don't care about your feelings? Do you think that they just have not a care in the world and they're just like, well, it doesn't matter. They'll wait. You know what I mean? Because it depends, I think. So being late can cause friction, missed dinner reservations and train bookings, not to mention arguments, which are never great for relationships. Okay. So sometimes, sorry, Samaya Zaman, a psychologist who specializes in cognitive behavioral therapy and eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. Holy moly, that's a big word, big phrase. EMDR has some thoughts about this. Okay. It's not that they're deliberately trying to do it or that they don't care about other people's feelings, but natural born optimists. Now, is that interesting? Who can successfully manage hectic schedules, try to pack too much into a day, and are more likely to be late when they're chatty peeps. Okay. And they'll keep talking and they'll be late for the next appointment. So I tend to do that sometimes. Does anybody know what kind of person I am? Do you know? Have you experienced this yet? Because I'll tell you. I'll tell you in a bit, and I'll tell you my thoughts on it. Okay, so some overschedulers are people who have trouble saying no, fearing they may offend someone or miss out on an important opportunity. You've heard the phrase FOMO, right? Now, this is interesting because I never thought of people being late as FOMO. Okay. Whoa, whoa, hey, my little thing's going all over the place. Oops, sorry. Um, okay, so here we go. Some over okay, I did this already. I'm so sorry, but my thing's going haywire. People with the FOMO issue aren't always happy to be running around like a headless chicken and often have issues saying no to things. That's not the FOMO people, that's other people. So I have that issue sometimes. I say yes too often. All right, Nisi says Indian time is actually a real thing. Indians are rarely on time. Now that's interesting. Yes, that is a stereotype, but it comes from truth. LOL. So if you need Indians to come on time, give them a time of half an hour or half hour earlier than needed. For my mom, 2 hours. Sorry, Dottie. Okay, so I'll go ahead and tell you about it since no one's guessing anyway. I'm late a lot of the time. So I'm late for some things and I'm super early for other things. So here's the strange thing. And then as I talk about some of these characteristics, then I'll kind of wrap up, I guess, why I think that I do the things that I do. But so I'm super early for planes, like for flight. Like I like to be at least 2 hours early. And my little plan is to get there early and get some coffee and sit down and go to the bathroom 72 times before I fly or whatever it is. Get a little snacks, get it all together, and then I'm not worried about it because I've been to the airports before. I used to be really late to flight, and then I would be running through the airport knocking people down. And I experienced one time, especially if you're flying overseas, you really, really want to be, or you want to be more than 2 hours early, as far as I'm concerned. Um, because I've experienced many a time, especially in Phoenix, Sky Harbor is just huge. And it even early in the morning, it'll have huge lines. It can take you 45 minutes to get through the line. Now, I know you could argue, now, except for when I flew out for the day, because I'm fancy pants and I flew out for the day to Palm Springs, I didn't really care because I didn't have any carry on, luggage or luggage to check in or anything. So is anybody else out there someone who likes to be early for planes? Other stuff, I'm perpetually late. I am. And I think it's just because it's not that I don't care. I promise you, it's not that I don't care. It's just that I don't know. Maybe I don't time manage well or something. Okay, got a couple comments. Jamie says, I just always want others to interpret their time by being on time, but I never looked at it on reverse, Nisi. Thanks for the insights. Yeah. And respect their time, not interpret. Yeah. So Jamie, you might have a new perspective after I talk about a few things today. It's pretty interesting. My sister Drea would always tell us she was on her way, but she was always late. Then we got family GPS. GPS. She's never on her way when she claims. That's too funny, Nisi. And that's technology for you. Because if you do have GPS with someone, they're not, hey, I'm on my way. No, you're at your house right now. What are you doing? And Laura says, always 2 hours for a flight. Yes, we have that comment in common. I freak out and people think I'm weird because I start stressing. I got to get there early. So Nisi says, for air travel, get TSA pre-check, worth the money and saves time. You know what, Nisi? I do need to do that. Does that work for overseas too? Because I'm going to do it. That's for sure. Okay, good. I'm so glad that we have some good. I've been feeling a little down lately because I'm like, nobody really cares about Ken or Katie. Nobody really, comes on, but I'm really happy to have the interaction. And it's not like I'm depressed, but I get it. Okay, so here are some other things. Okay, the FOMO thing, and then it says, did I miss something? Okay. They can also be procrastinators. This is me completely. I always say the P in my middle name stands for procrastination. Katie, procrastinator, Horgan. Finding themselves preoccupied with doing something else and pushing back the talk they actually need to do. Or task, sorry, not the talk. I'm wearing glasses and I'm still not reading right. There may be some element of executive dysfunction and might also be struggling with some level of anxiety, which makes the transition of leaving one place for another difficult for them. So there's some issues right there. FOMO, procrastination, a little bit of anxiety. These are serious things, and they shouldn't be taken lightly, you know? Okay, so Nisi says, yes, work's going overseas, coming back not as much, but still worth not having to waste time or stress standing in security lines. Oh, for sure. Well, yeah, because especially from here and like JFK, if you guys have been there, it's just you stand there forever. Okay, so it could also depend on how you were brought up, surprisingly. If your parents were always late dropping and picking you up, you're probably going to be a late person. And another thing to consider is that not everyone's brains work the same way. For instance, people with autism or ADHD find time management hard. I am like always off in la la land. So, like I said, if I can be on time or really early for flights, why can't I do it for other things? I don't know. But I promise you I'm not disrespecting your time. That's not what it is. So Jamie says must be airport to the airport early, but yes, global entry and pre-check is mandatory. Okay, well, I got to step up my game, I guess. So Brian says difficult stuff here. If I make a plan with a friend, say at 2 p.m., be there at 2 p.m. If you get there at 2:30, then you should have made the plans for 2:30. If you can be 2 hours early for a flight, you can be on time for our friendship. True, but I'm not always thinking of it that way. I promise you. My daughter almost makes us miss the flight. It kills me. So I'm gonna give you guys that would stress me out. And going to the movies, I don't want to be late either. So Brian, you are right. I don't know why it's different. Like I said, I gotta step up my game. So with these poor timing, keep off time keepings, whatever. I don't know. I misspelled this. Often sits alongside with struggling to organize things and losing them. So I am a disorganized, organized person. Like I know where everything is usually, and if it gets moved around, then I get stressed out. I don't know where it is. And then that is sometimes the reason why, because I'm struggling at the last minute to find it. So I'm gonna scroll through all these different ones and some of them might be repeated, but in a slightly different way. So punctual people may believe that late people are passive aggressive and that their time is more valuable than those who wait for them. But reasons for lateness are generally more complex. List some of the ones I just talked about. It may be the opposite of arrogance. It could be they don't value themselves enough. So if you think about it from that perspective, that's not everybody that's late. That's not like, oh, feel sorry for me, I'm late. But really, really think about. I always bring this up. I got to do the difference between sympathy and empathy. Really think about why somebody might be late. So this explanation may work for social situations, but why miss planes, boats, and trains? Because people do. Perhaps it's an unconscious testing of the theory. If I were a worthy person, the train would wait for me, which I think is really crazy. But maybe, I don't know. It's like the things that you really can't be late for, you'll make it on time. But for the other things, maybe not. Like I'm late to meetings. I mean, I got to work on it. So we're going to go over some of that stuff. It can be caused when we have a reluctance to change gear to end one activity and start another, which is my problem some of the time. We don't like getting up. We put off going to bed, stopping something. We are absorbed into do something else can be annoying. It takes willpower to carry out. So these are all reasons. Do they resonate with any of you? If we don't change gear in time when someone is waiting for us, we are in danger of being judged as selfish. Okay? But it's not always about you, just like it's not always about you, the person that's doing it, right? Some late people choose to accept that they are terrible timekeepers and that they can't do anything about it. That's one way to look at it. Some punctual people think that they know that late people could decide to be on time and follow through. They could. But is it going to ruin your friendship? If you just understand who each other is, can you so like it's compromise, right? And I've been talking about this. I put this up with the advantages of being single, the advantages of having a significant other, and that kind of thing. So is it something that communication could help a lot with and something that somebody could try and do for the sake of another if it's really that important, right? Is that something that could be worked out? The perfectionist who might fuss over hair in the on the front size of her, god dang it, on the front side on her work presentation, determined to get it right even at the cost of being late. I'm sorry that I misspelled some of these. Oh, these are the types of people. I missed that. Okay, these are the types of or the reasons why you're late. Okay, that one, and then the crisis maker who needs an adrenaline rush to get going, the dreamer who doesn't pay enough attention to detail, the pleaser who says yes to everyone, and that's my problem too, the defier who rebels against expectations. Sometimes that's me. I'll admit it. I'm like a weird person that is like a Janet of all trades in like this thing. I see. I put the ways to overcome being late now. Okay, so these are all the things. Can you do something about it? Right. So I said communication is the biggest key. Right. Figure out exactly how long it will take to get somewhere, and then build an extra time. That makes sense. So with living in Metro Phoenix, there's over 5 million people here. It's the fifth largest city in the nation. It's so expansive. I mean, it is just so far. There are places that I go, it's round trip 3 hours. So I really have to plan for it. And then I have to think about traffic. So thankfully, Google Maps and some Waze and some other ones are like, what time do you want to get there? And they'll give you an estimated time to leave. So something that might take you 45 minutes in a non traffic day could take you an hour and a half on another day. So sometimes that is a very legitimate reason to be late, but I have to try and plan it better. All right. So did I read this already? Oh, Nisi, for us multitaskers, yeah. It's that we're trying to squeeze in as much as possible into every damn minute. So leaving too early for a meeting or appointment is not making use of every minute before we go. Yes. And that was one of the things in here. Even if it means being a little late, we don't think of being late. We think we'll make it with a quicker step or a heavier foot on the gas pedal. Exactly. All right. So Alexandra Monroe, you should be fashionably late, no later than 15 minutes. Well, that's a whole different thing altogether, right? So figure out exactly how long it will take to get somewhere and then build an extra time. That is something to do. Surround yourself with clocks. How many alarms do you have set on your phone? I have alarms set for, affirmations and stuff, but I have other things. I have things every day of the week, and then I have other things. I have a lot of alarms. Okay. Now the key is to remind yourself to turn them on so that they'll go off. But I haven't tried this because I still have an old school. I'm serious. Since I was like 21 in college, this really old alarm clock. It still works. It's a radio alarm clock and it's digital. I would have to get up and turn it off, and I just haven't done it. I gotta step up my game. Set lots of alarms. That's what I'm talking about now. Create artificial deadlines. So maybe like Nisi said. So like the meeting starts at 3, but you're thinking to yourself, the meeting starts at 2:30. Okay. Don't start an enjoyable or important activity before a pressing event, which is something I do too. Oh, I've got 10 minutes. And then suddenly I'm like, oh shit, plan what you'll do if you're early. So this is really important. So especially for somebody like me. So because I'm both sides of the scale, I am. And so this is, like I said, when I go to the airport, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go get coffee. I'm going to go to the bathroom 72 times. I'm going to get treats. Maybe I'll get a book, or I'll bring a book. I'll sit down. I'll open up my computer. I'll do some last minute work, whatever. I think about all these things that I can get done. I'll post something with sit squat. You know, who knows? But that's a good way to make yourself be on time. Okay. Envision how you feel if you're late, because it can be stressful, right? Okay, it can be stressful. And then here's some final thoughts. Are you ready for this? Are you ready? And then I'm done. Okay. It is only when the latecomers make the decision to be punctual that they change. So think about that. If they merely make a woolly attempt to try to be on time, they won't be. So I'll try. I'll try to be there. So legitimately, there are times though, I will say in my profession where I'm late and that's unavoidable. And I'm sorry, friends, family, meetings, whatever. If I'm showing a home and I'm 45 minutes away and I'm showing other homes and something comes up and I have to do something, or if there's a contract or whatever it is, I'm going to be late to something else. Okay. Or I'm going to have to get there and step out for a minute and say, excuse me, I'll be back. Okay. No matter what the other people feel, I'm not doing it to hurt their feelings. Okay. All right. So then if you do have one friend who is always late, there are things you can do to help. Remember that there might be a reason that they are late and that they could be feeling overwhelmed. Okay. So keep that in mind. Don't automatically, the trick is to not automatically go to that place. how could they do this to me? How could they be disrespecting me? Okay. So there was another thing now, and it has to do with being late, but also with how you feel about it. So, like, say you're public speaking somewhere. So, a friend of mine who does, speeches, and maybe there's a room of 500 people, and she had said, I just wanted to lock the doors. You know what I mean? Lock it when the thing starts, and if they're late, they miss it, regardless if they paid a bunch of money or not. And another guy had told her, well, consider about maybe what's going on in their lives, and that they're not doing it on purpose. I mean, what if they had to put their dog down last night and they're very upset? What if something happened? What if flat tires running? What if, I mean, could they legitimately just be late? Yes, but there could be other reasons. And both reasons don't have anything to do with you. It's not disrespecting your time. It's not being organized themselves, right? And it's like one of the things. You just have to accept it. And then if you want to change, you will. And if you're in a relationship, you're going to have a conversation about that. Is communication that's going to help you with it, right? Communication is the key for everything. Sometimes we tend to avoid it. Not that helpful. So bonus tip, wait a minute. Oh, bonus tip. If you're dealing with someone who's always late, look at that spelling. Communicate, like I just said. Have a check-in time. So if you want someone to be there at 4, tell them I'm going to check in with you at 3, 3:15, 3:30, 4 o'clock, whatever. I'm going to keep checking in with you. Okay. And I need you to be there on time. Okay. Or like, and one of the other suggestions is if it is somebody who's chronically late all the time and you want them there at 4, tell them it's at 3:30. And then if they're early or on time and they're mad because they're like, oh, they can't really be mad though, can they? Because they're kind of helping you out with getting there on time. All right. So Brian says, we pretty much all have phones. You can text or say you're late or have a reason. Otherwise, my time is just as important as the person I made plans with. I can be doing things too. Well, for sure. And that's one thing that's not talked about in here. If you're running late, for sure, call them or send a text. I do that all the time. But remember, Brian, it's not always about disrespecting you. Okay. That doesn't mean they don't care about you. So it's like I said, it's really important to have conversations and like, this really, really fucking bothers me. So don't do it. Right. And if the other person just can't get it in line, then it's just not going to work out. Right. So that's it. As Sid Squatch says, the journey begins with you. So be good to yourself. Oh, I got another comment. So Nisi says, why we got to be on time for our doctors and dentists when they're chronically late? Exactly. And yet we get charged fees for being late and they expect us to wait without penalty to them. Yes, this is where we learn bad behaviors, LOL. Exactly. And if they cancel an appointment, they're like, sorry, no, we have to reschedule. And then you have to reschedule all your stuff. And then they charge you if you need to reschedule. And Jamie says, yes, exactly. So it's a multifaceted issue. There's a lot to it. And this is just a small tidbit. And I don't have all of the information, right? So I love you all. You know this. I love you. I support you all. This is really cool conversations because what it boils down to is if you're hurt by it, if you're hurt by it, you need to tell them. And if you're hurting someone, you know what I mean? You need to think about the basic thing is you need to think about other people's feelings. Do we all do that? No, unfortunately. But hopefully along the way, we can learn how to deal with some of this stuff. Okay. So like I said, the journey begins with you. Be good to yourself. And Horgan loves you. Peace and love, my friends. Have a great night. And I will see you next week. I'm competing this weekend. So look on Facebook and hopefully we'll share some stuff. Toodles.